Should you take advice from steroid users, or you should only watch and learn from naturals? There are a few scenarios when I would say you shouldn't, and a few when you should. So let's go over that. But first, let's touch on a few delusions that natural lifters have, and why is it so difficult to even take advice from anybody. Everybody takes a picture of themselves with damn light, edits, pump, and it distorts the actual look. Naturals can't accept what is naturally attainable for them. There's a chance that you're not going to be 200 pounds, shredded, lean, muscular, but you have to choose in between being big or lean. There's also a chance that on average you're only going to be around 160 pounds or even less when you're shredded, and you just have to accept that. So you always have to pick in between big and lean. Most naturals believe that their favorite fitness influencer is also natural. They can achieve their physique when there is a huge gap in between average natural and elite natural genetics. The gap is even bigger if we are talking about an average natty physique and an average person who just takes gear. Even bigger in between naturals. So if you are a natty, you should never compare yourself to anybody, even if that's your natural favorite fitness influencer, and you should just try to optimize everything so you can put on that 20 to 15 pounds of muscle in your lifetime. Now that these are out of the way, let's talk about why you shouldn't listen to people on steroids and why you shouldn't listen to people who are blessed with elite genetics as well. Steroids overrides and changes the training, and it warps the advice that they are giving you. And only half of it is true. It is definitely warping the advice the user is giving because they don't understand how training works, or they don't understand what is actually getting the result. So we can already say that you shouldn't listen to these people. But let's go a step further. The training doesn't change. You can't take more volume. You can't take more hits. But to understand this, we need to take a look at training and how it stimulates muscle growth, even if you are on gear. There is a simple yet physiologically complicated process that's called fatigue. Just because you are on gear, the fatigue mechanism within your training is not changing. Outside of training, you can have a higher recovery, higher response to training, or you can be anabolic most of the time. But fatigue within your training is going to be the same as a natural lifter. And fatigue is what's in between you and the stimulus what you are getting from your training. One of the biggest dogshit advice steroid users are giving is the feeling of the muscle, the squeeze, the mind-muscle connection. You can go ahead and try to follow it, and I can promise you that it is not going to work. But why did it work for them? Most of the time when people stop progressing, it is because their training is bad, they are not progressively overloading anymore, and they are not willing to change anything. So what is the easy solution? Reach under the counter and take steroids. But think about this. It takes you one day just going to your local gym, asking them to, okay, let's be honest, we all know that where to get steroids, and to buy one and inject yourself. But do you think that it takes one day to learn more about training? No, it takes way more than that. And this is why, as soon as people start taking steroids, they don't change anything in their training, but straight away these things are working. And they are going to be so smart to draw a conclusion to say that it is working now, but it didn't work in the beginning. This is where intelligence leaves the person and they are just giving out dogshit advice, even though they knew that it is not working, but now it is working. And the second one is relying on genetics and gear as a selling point. The biggest guys you see who are naturals are the most gifted genetically. The most attractive girls you see are the most blessed genetically. The right bone structure, the right size of the bone, the right muscle shape, the right size of the muscle, and so on. And even the capability to where it grows. Because let's be honest, it looks way more impressive to have big chest and arms rather than having a big back. And for girls, it is way more impressive to grow more glutes instead of quads. Add steroids to the compound and you got a genetic freak. Arnold was bigger than most lifters, even right now, when he was 16 and natural. So if someone is exceptionally big and good looking with gears, they were probably big as naturals as well, even if they didn't give themselves time to figure it out how to get there. So let me ask you something. Those who grow from anything, why would they try to optimize everything? And in your head, you are probably thinking, why wouldn't they? They would be bigger. But you are only thinking with your body because you would be half the size if you weren't optimizing anything. But for them, when they are growing from literally everything, they don't need to. They are going to grow. Freaks of nature don't give a shit. If Chris Bumstead can do a guillotine press and grow his chest, why wouldn't he do that? but it is not going to work for you. Well, let me give you another example. If Chris Bumstead does a leg press and he says that he got a massive arm pump and arm growth, you're going to believe him, right? He has massive arms. But is it going to work for you? I can tell you that it is not going to work for you. But there is a chance that it is actually working for him. When guys with huge arms say that, I got my arms doing only pull-ups, and you can do if you do the same, you probably won't. It is because of their genetics. And if they were to do normal biceps curls, they would get even bigger arms within their genetics. But do they ever have to rely on optimized exercises like a biceps curl? No, because it is growing from pull-ups anyway. So why would they do that? They don't need to optimize it. Girls who are doing gimmicky exercises for their glutes are the same. They usually say, I got my ass doing these exercises. Yeah, sure, there's a chance. You're not going to. These are people with gut-tier genetics, and as soon as you try to copy their things, or workouts, exercise, or whatever they do, you're going to fail, because you don't have those gut-tier genetics. This is why when someone is using their bodies as a selling point, out-of-touch genetics is not going to be a good person to listen to. If there is no reason behind their advice, you don't need to take them. If a guy with amazing genetics and uses steroids tells you that you should do preacher curl because that's where the biceps has the best leverage and the resistance profile is matching that, and you need to get progressively stronger, is the person you need to follow, opposed to someone who is saying, oh, look at that, my arms are fucking jagged, you should follow me, I just do pull-ups. And remember, genetics without hard work and consistency means nothing. There are probably thousands of people with better genetics than Arnold, but we will never see that because they don't go to the gym consistently, and there's a chance that they don't even go to the gym and they don't train hard. So we can say that genetics is just the talent. You can never downplay their hard work, but it also doesn't mean that you should take their advice. Next is downplaying the effects of steroids and your genetics. When a genetic outlier says that you can be just as big as I am if you train the way as I do and you eat the way as I do, it's probably a really bad advice. And you can already tell that any advice coming from this person is going to reflect that, because they don't understand the big gap in between elite genetics and average. There is no need for anybody to say that you can achieve the same physique as me. Only that person can achieve that same physique. There is nothing wrong saying that, guys, I have fucking great genetics. You probably don't. But I can show you the best way so you can get the most out of yours. But how many people you hear saying that? Not many, because it's difficult to sell with that. If you are not telling people what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, it's not going to sell as well. Some of you will probably think that this is disingenuous, misleading to you. But trust me, there are naturals with elite genetics that believe that you can be as big as them. But the same can be said about steroid users. They usually say that it is just the cherry on top, the icing. They are full of shit. Taking steroids is going to give you a chance to go through another newbie phase in your life. So that means newbie gains. And let's be honest, gym bros who don't know how to tweak their training and only rely on steroids, what is their only way to improve after that? Upping the dose. How reliable their advice is going to be for you when all they can do is, yeah guys, I'm upping the dose. On average, people usually gain around 20 to 50 pounds of muscle. If you are an elite genetic freak, it is going to be around 40 to 80 pounds. And you can half it for women. An average steroid user usually gains around 40 to 90 pounds. A genetic freak with steroids is going to gain around 140 to 180 pounds easily. Maybe not easily, but by sacrificing 20 years from their lives. And even if you do a gym math, or even a normal math, that's not a cherry, that's not an icing. That's eating another person and assimilating their gains, just like in any trashy isekai, what I love watching. So when should you listen to genetic freaks and steroid users? The first one is obvious, when they are trying to max out their genetics, optimizing their volume, rest time, the exercises, what to do, what is the best for this, and so on. Not just blindly relying on their genetics and the dose. And this is not as common as you think. It is actually really rare. Or when someone is really passionate about getting naturals to their max potential, just like me. So you should probably subscribe and buy my coaching. When they talk about techniques, intensity, the reason behind their techniques and execution, the exercise ordering, all of the reasons behind them and so on. When they are really nerdy about these stuff, Even if they are freaks of nature, steroid users, you know that they want the best for you and for themselves. But more importantly, you need to listen to the words that are coming out of their mouths. I see a couple of huge, fucking massive guys on TikTok and Instagram giving out amazing advices about exercise techniques, how to do them. And when you go into the comments, all you are going to say is, yeah, but where is the needle? You forgot the steroids. They didn't actually listen to the video where the guy was executing a lat pull down and explaining why he is doing it, just to maximize your back training. And the same goes for average physique guys in the gym, and they are giving out advices and people are just, yeah, but you are small. No, that person is not small. That person is average. But if he didn't maximize everything, he would probably be half of his size. But again, they didn't listen to the advice that was in the video. If the video was about lat pull down, you can't say things like, steroids, you are small, your calves are not growing. Talk about the video. If there is something wrong with the video, you need to listen to the word that is coming out of people's mouth. So instead of looking at the physiques of people, you should analyze the information they are giving, but don't paralyze yourself. Don't forget to like, subscribe, buy my online coaching. Talk to you soon.